It's time to strap in and get ready for the front stretch. Presented by Joe's Karting. Dan and Dirk are live in the studio today, ready to hear from you at 402-573-0590.
All right, the coffee's kicking in. I got 4 hours of sleep. It's been a long couple of days of racing, which I'm not complaining about at all, mind you. I'm just stating the fact. And I just started dancing on Facebook Live. I apologize to those that are watching. It's not going to get any better. Stan Cisar is sitting on hold. He's ready to join us to recap the first 3 nights of racing at the IMCA RaceSaver Nationals at Eagle Raceway. And then in turn number 3, we'll get you set for Sunday night, Championship Sunday at I-80 Speedway. It's the final points night for I-80 Speedway. In turn 4, we'll get you set for Darlington. Darlington, there's a couple of things we could talk about, but you want to get onto Facebook and check out all the really cool paint schemes that some of the drivers and teams have been releasing over the last week, because they're doing the whole throwback scheme again, which I do enjoy. I think that's pretty fun to do.
Yeah, the throwback schemes just started several years ago, but they're something that the drivers love doing them.
I don't think his microphone's on, Craig. Is it on? Maybe I don't hear him.
Uh-oh.
We should have mic checked before we went on the air. Give him that microphone just in case. Well, all right. Anyways, we'll roll through this, but the Darlington.
Hello.
I got that one.
Is this one?
Nothing out of that second microphone. That's odd. All right. I tell you what, while these two get that figured out, Craig, if you wouldn't mind bringing up Stan, and we'll get to recapping the first couple of days of the RaceSaver Nationals, and we'll get Dirk's microphone fixed for the on-air people listening on AM 590. I want to say a big thank you to Joe's Karting for presenting today's racing. Get over to Joe's Karting, indoor kart racing at an affordable price. You can keep your arms and legs attached. How else would you race if you didn't have any arms and legs, if you had to pay for that kind of stuff? So get over to Joe's Karting today, indoor kart racing, and Joe's Karting with a K for more information. Also, more information coming, I believe, in the next week or so. We're going to get Buddy Ray on the show to talk about the dirt track, the Malvern Bank Slick Track Series at Joe's Karting. All right, Stan Cisar joining us on the phone now for a full race recap of everything that has happened. Well, maybe not every single thing that has happened at Eagle Raceway, because there's a lot of things that need to stay at Eagle Raceway. I'm really sorry about that picture that came up on Facebook Live. Oh, the things you don't see in the studio. All right, is Stan Cisar ready to go?
A lot of things that need to be said, and some things that I wish I could say, but...
I got the delay button just in case. Usually,
that's the microphone they give me. So today, Dirk got the lucky straw.
All right, so it's been an amazing couple of days of racing, as you could fully expect when you get out to the RaceSaver Nationals at Eagle Raceway. I wanted to kind of recap just maybe a little bit of Friday night's action. You and I have talked about it. We talked about it last week. I think one of my favorite this is one of my favorite formats, because I'm a simple guy. I love the simplicity that NASCAR brings. I think that sometimes when you qualify for races for dirt track, it's a little bit too complicated for somebody simple like me. It changes from race to race. It changes from track to track. Eagle Raceway and the RaceSaver Nationals is really simple. There's a ton of heat races. Go out and win your heat race, you're in the A. You finish second, you're in the B. You finish third, you're in the C.
Yeah, it's worked well thus far. Have heard some comments of a possible change in format. I don't see it changing, but at least I believe the powers that be are going to be open to opinions and going to ask for a lot more opinions from a lot more people. But no matter what happens, and no matter what changes may or may not be made, it can't detract from what a great event this thing has become. It truly is, and I've heard the comment several times this past weekend. This is the Knoxville Nationals. of the RaceSaver Sprint Car division. And the whole atmosphere, the competition level, it's second to none. You know, are the speeds Knoxville and World of Outlaws 410? No. Is the competition just as great? Is the time and effort just as much? Absolutely.
Yeah. Yeah, these teams have really busted their butts over the last couple of weeks and months, really, to get ready for this race. And you kind of feel for those guys that were looking forward to coming but just had some bad luck and maybe tore up their car their last points night or the week leading up to the Nationals. And unfortunately, their race budgets didn't allow for a backup car or maybe even a third car if the luck was really bad, and so they weren't able to make it. And you kind of feel for those guys because they missed out on such an experience to be able to race it, but then to be there is a part of the whole excitement about it too.
It was fantastic fun up until about 10 o'clock last night, but that's a whole other story for another place and another time. But let's talk about Friday night's heat race action. Had 12 heat races Friday night. We had 89 cars attempt to qualify. A guy by the name of Anton Hernandez out of he's basically a Texan racing in the Indiana area, picked up the heat race win in heat race number 1, and Anton wasn't planning on making the trip. His current car owner was not going to attend the Nationals. Another guy that he races against week in, week out said, man, if you want to go, you can drive my car. Let's put this thing together. And they put it together in 2 or 3 weeks before the event, and boom, here's Hernandez. He qualified for the A-Main last year in his first attempt, and the guy's a gasser and a very nice kid, and good to see him get in the show. Heat race number 2 went to one of the locals, Tyler Drucke, car number 12. You can never count him out. Third heat race, a former national champion, very tough competitor, former Jake Ida Race Champions winner from Oklahoma City, Andy Schaus, picked up the win. Heat race number 4 was no surprise. As I said on live yesterday, Jake Bubak and the rest of the field, well, Jake took the win as expected, and we were lucky enough to win our class. And heat race number 4 went to Adam Gullin, car number 91 JV. Adam, intense for this event that we all look forward to all year long. Luke Cranston out of Holcomb, Kansas, picked up the win in heat race number, I guess that would be number 6. And Luke has been a former track record holder at Eagle Raceway, knows his way around the place. Kind of a surprise, somebody that not a lot of people knew about, Justin Clark out of Indiana. Or no, Clark was out of Ohio, I believe, car number 78. And if you get in RaceSaver race results from around the country and see who's winning in some of these various other regions, which we pretty much do on a regular basis, you see Clark's name popping up. So we knew he was going to be a player, and he did not disappoint. Most of the time you hear the name Justin Clark, most people assume it's Doug Clark's son, who's the flagman to be over at Knoxville. But this is a different Justin Clark, and he picked up the win in that 6th heat race. Joey Danley out of Lincoln, Nebraska, has been strong most of the season, has had some bad luck most of the season, but he won the 7th heat. Kevin Ramier, defending champion. Ethan Barrow out of Bloomington, Indiana. Ethan was one of the first guys. His family has been involved in racing for a number of years, and when he was old enough, he moved right into the 410 non-wing sprints, which at that time was the norm over in Indiana, and they've got a great program for those cars over there. But when the RaceSaver series came aboard, he jumped in with both feet and embraced that thing, and he has done well over there. And they've got a great series over there, the Indiana RaceSaver Sprint Series. He picked up a win. I believe he's been here 4 times. I think he's made the show every year. Another guy that's been around racing for a long time, Jake Martins out of Fairview, Oklahoma. Car number 48 picked up the win in Heat 11, and one of our own favorites. As a matter of fact, the 2017 champion, guy that hasn't raced much locally this year. He splits between some 360 racing and does the 305 deal, but he is a past champion of this event. Jason Martin was the 2017 winner. He very nearly won the event last year, was leading in turns 1 and 2 after taking the white flag, and then things didn't quite work out for him. And did not win last year, but that set the stage. Those heat runners were the top 12 cars that were going to start that 20-car A main event, and that's as stellar a lineup as you can see. You could put these guys in 360s, 410s, whatever. They're still going to put on a whale of a show for you. The B main event, as we talked about, it was an A feature anywhere.
You had mentioned about halfway through the night, when we were halfway through those heat races, you kind of leaned over to me and you go, boy, this is going to be one tough B. It featured guys like Chase Brewer, Mike Boston, Andy Schaus, Cody Ledger in the 47, Dusty Ballinger, Ryan Hall, Colby Estes, Trevor Grossenbacher, Josh Riggins, Ryan King, Stu Snyder, and Neil Nicolite. And that's an incredibly tough B. And would we take the 8 out of the B on Friday night?
Took 8 out, completed our 20-car field. They took the green flag, and unfortunately, a guy that seems to always have quote-unquote bad luck kind of stepped on it on lap number 1 and caused an incident, and then took out some contenders and caused quite a bit of damage, destroyed his car, actually, and did some severe damage to a couple other cars. But unfortunately, that happened on lap number 1, but the rest of the event, it kind of played out true to form, kind of what you expected. Jake Buback, car number 74B, picked up the win. Jason Martin right on that rear bumper of the 74B. Kind of a surprise, but not really a surprise if you're paying attention. Caleb Johnson out of Sioux Falls, South Dakota. Another guy comes from a racing family. He's been involved in the sprint car deal for maybe 4 years now, and he had a whale of a drive coming home in the 3rd position. Luke Cranston, what appeared to be a 4th-place finish in car number 11C. Trevor Grossenbacher drove it up from the 13th position all the way up to 5th. Anton Hernandez, we mentioned him. Ethan Barrow, Jake Martins, Andy Schaus, and Ryan Clark, your top finishers in that deal. It was a great race. It lived up to all the hype and expectations. Everybody knew Buback was going to be fast, and he didn't disappoint. But the competition throughout the field was fierce. Yeah, I mean that's the only way you can describe it.
And we kind of skipped over just for time's sake because we got to get into taking a bit of a break. Let you catch your breath just a little bit. But there was a G feature that drivers had to qualify. Top 4 moved on to the F. Top 4 moved on to the E. Top 4 moved on to the D. Top 4 moved on to the C. That's a lot of racing. And I don't think it could be overstated when you're in that heat race and you can see the guy in front of you and you think, well, let's take it easy. It's the heat race. That position right there is another 12 cars you'll have to pass if you don't get by him in the heat race.
Exactly. And another thing we can talk just quickly, a 10-second about this. We talked about Luke Cranston. Cranston unfortunately failed the post-race inspection, had some upper lube, fuel additive in his engine, and that dropped him to a last place finish. And I'd like to talk more about that, but at this time I'm gonna stay quiet. But he picked up a last place finish after being DQ'd on Friday night, and that's all we'll say about that. Let's take a break. We'll come back and recap night number 2.
We will do that. Just waiting for our board up to get back to push the buttons. He's running around trying to fix things. So let's take just a couple
of
more.
Talking.
Yeah, let's keep talking. Are you sure you don't want to talk about this the Luke Cranston stuff? Because I've heard a couple of different stories about what happened with that, and I want to make sure that we're not mislabeling anybody.
Well, I heard from tech officials last night because definitely there were some tech and discussions last night, and I heard from multiple officials. It was an upper lube additive that racers have used in fuel for a number of years. It is, however, against RaceSaver rules. Fuel is supposed to be straight alcohol. They have a specific fuel test that they used, and most of these different additives will throw up the red flag. And so it's one of those deals. Was it intentional? Who knows? I've heard explanations that I'd also rather not discuss right now about the severity of crimes and the penalties. And But the specific point I mentioned is the fact that he was DQ'd, and on the final points list for Friday night's action, he received the last place finish in the A main event.
He received 70 points, which benefits him considerably when it comes into tonight's racing action, because he gets...
He had 85 points on the night.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right, so that means Jake Bubach, Jason Martin, Caleb Johnson, Trevor Grossebacher, Anton Hernandez, Ethan Barrow, Jake Martins, Andy Schaus, and Justin Clark are all locked in. They're the first 3 rows for tonight's A main. We're going to take a break. We'll come back, and we'll get you set for rows 3, 4, and 5, how the heat races unfolded, and how the features unfolded to lock in the next 3 rows for tonight's race. We'll be back on the front stretch.
Every race car driver has run into the same problem. It's well past normal parts store closing hours, but you need that one to finish your car. The guys who brought you White Knuckle Racing by the River bring you Joe's Karting Racing Parts and Tire Store. Open until 10 p.m. Monday to Thursday and open until 11 p.m. on Friday and Saturday. A parts store that fits your after-hours schedule, and you can turn a few laps at Joe's Karting while you're waiting for your part to get pulled from their warehouse. joeskarting.com for more information.
Dan and Dirk are rolling into turn 2 with a little attitude on the front stretch.
Welcome back to the front stretch, rolling into turn number 2, brought to you by Eagle Raceway. Night number 4 or night number 3, depending on how you want to count it. It all ends tonight, the RaceSaver Nationals. No more getting tickets online, no more getting tickets in advance, no more waiting around. Eagle Raceway. The ticket window, you can get your tickets right now, at 4 o'clock today, as gates are scheduled to open up at 4:30. Just $20 to see the final day of racing. Stan Cisar joining us on the show. Stan, always do appreciate you taking the time out of your day. It's been a long couple of days for you with running back and forth, playing car owner and announcer and all the responsibilities you've got. So, again, I appreciate you getting up early this morning and helping us out to recap all the action.
I appreciate you getting in on 4 hours of sleep. Great job. You got 2 more than I did.
And I'm still going to complain like I got less than you. A lot of action to go today as the final day of qualifying. And as it's this early in the morning, there is still stuff going to be going on. 9:30, the breakfast opens up. There's a dodgeball tournament at 11 a.m., which you could still get entered into. And if you're good at dodgeball, if you're good at dodging a wrench and you can dodge a ball, then you can win $500. 4:30.
One more thing. Talk about the schedule, and then I have one more thing to add about Friday night.
4:30, Dr. Danger is going to be doing an autograph session with a couple of the drivers at the fan zone. And there's also going to be a car show going on. Hot laps are scheduled to start at 5:30. The grandstand gates, by the way, open up at 4:30, the same time as the Dr. Danger and driver autograph show and car show. So hot laps are 5:30. Racing starts at 6:30. They're going to have the last chance qualifiers. And Dr. Danger is going to have one of his final stunt, which we've been a little worried about how that's going to unfold. But the only way to watch it now is to get to Eagle Raceway tonight. Once again, $20 for adults, $5 for kids 6 to 12, and kids 5 and under are going to get in for free.
Also on the card on Friday night, ATV Motorsports, the Sport Compact division, dominated by Team Cronin. Cole Creco picked up the win. Brian Cronin come home in the second spot, so the black cars took it all home. Definitely do not want to slight the Sport Compacts in any way.
They did a great job, and I know some fans were, maybe a little bit disappointed that it wasn't all sprint cars all the time, but the Sport Compacts did a good job of putting on one heck of a show.
So let's move into Saturday night's action. Once again, got some guys locked in, some crashed cars, some blown engines. We had 10 heat races on Saturday night. Jason Howell out of Fort Worth, Texas, picked up the win in heat race number 1. Good old boy. Got to meet him the first year. He's been up to all the nationals. He's a great guy and a great competitor. Second heat, another guy from Indiana, Bradley Sterrett, car number 23S, was your heat race winner. So you can't fault that. And heat race number 3, I think we're talking about Dustin Straub out of Ohio was your heat race winner. Toby Chapman picked up the win in heat race number 4. Cody Ledger won heat race number 5. Luke Cranston. What's that?
Yeah, let me back you up. Heat race number 3, Michelle Melton picked up the win.
Michelle Melton, I'm sorry. That wasn't the 21X. It was the 21. Michelle Melton out of Flower Mound, Texas. And coincidentally, it happened to be her birthday. So what a way to celebrate your birthday by picking up the win. Those guys are pitted right next to us. Great bunch of folks out of the Texas area. Chapman picks up 4. Cody got heat race number 5. Luke Cranston bounced back and picked up a win in heat race number 6. Another guy that was strong on Friday night, Dusty Ballinger out of Harrisburg, South Dakota, and we got the full story on the nickname Combine last night, and I'll be able to share that with you at a future date. Joey Danley with another heat race win. I think that was heat race number 8 for the consecutive night. Tyler Drucke and Adam Gullion picked up the final 2 heat races, and they really had a little bit of advantage. They ran second most of the race. The track conditions were changing. They found the line. The guy that was leading had no idea the line was changing, and they were both sitting ducks, so they won pretty easily in the final laps of their respective heat races. So that set the first 10 cars of our A-main event for that night.
Speaking of heat race 9 and 10, Tyler Drucke and Adam Gullion both winning that one. They had strong cars on Friday night. Looked like early in the race, looked like they were going to be strong contenders to be one of the 9 qualifiers, but both of them retired about halfway through the race with mechanical issues.
Yeah, tough breaks that, gosh, you just bet. We talk about this all the time. The cars are a pretty level playing field anymore. It comes down to driver ability and chassis setup and how you're reading the racetrack that night, but you still can't beat luck.
Yeah.
You got to have luck. No matter how good you are, no matter how well prepared you are, and you can talk about you make your own luck. Sometimes luck just will pop up and bite you right in the hiney. That happened to those guys, unfortunately.
Then we moved on to our creature features. H feature rolled out. Josh Riggins, Keith Dragoo, Dwayne White, and Gerald Harris picked up the win and moved on. To the G, Gene Ackland, Rod Henning, Keith Dragoo, Larry Neighbors picked up the win and moved on. Claude Estes, Trey Burke, Nate Thompson, and Danny Nicolite. I think my favorite thing about last night was watching the Nicolite fans as he kept qualifying in that final transfer spot for the last couple of features. Neil's great young talented driver, and I've been campaigning his own car since they got involved in the sport, kind of a family-owned team. He got the opportunity to drive for Bade Racing, and they got new engines, new cars. He's definitely grabbing that thing and making the most of it, and I wish him the best of luck. And I apologize. Danny Nicolite finished 4th in the F feature. Neil Nicolite would move on in a farther feature ahead. E feature saw Steven Richards, DJ Estes, Joe Woods Jr., and Brandon Anderson moving on. And then we come to our D feature. This was Neil Nicolite, Mike Boston, Brett Becker, and Tyler Thompson picking up the wins. Doug Lovegrove, Clint Benson, Sean Pointer, and Whitewall Nate Weiler. Once again, Nate's kind of taken the storylines with those. He's very easy to spot on the racetrack, and those white walls are becoming very popular.
For sure. So take us up through the B, and then we'll talk about the A.
Kevin Ramey, Stu Snyder, Ryan King, Jacob Harris, Clint Benson, Trey Gropp, Mike Moore, Sean Pointer, and Neil Nicolite and Dustin Strope picked up the win. We took 10 out of the B. Neil Nicolite didn't look like he was going to get that last qualifier, but boy, he really picked it up that last couple of laps, and the group in front of the announcer's booth went nuts.
Once again, the B main disappoint, and when you're talking about the level of competition, your defending champion Kevin Ramey coming out of that B main event to try to make it in on a qualifying night.
So that sets us for our A feature. Tyler, let's see. We had 20 cars would have started the A main.
Tyler Drucke from the pole, and Dusty Ballinger from row 2. Come home first and second in that one. Cody Ledger from, I believe, 8th on the field, drove it up to 3rd after dropping back to 13th in the early going, experimented with a couple lines and finally found something and pretty much had a missile for the rest of the race.
Mm-hmm.
Stu Snyder with a great drive. You talked about Stu coming out of the B, I believe, and he raced his way up to a fourth place finish. Luke Cranston bounced back and picked up fifth. Toby Chapman, Bradley Sterrett, Michelle Melton, and Adam Gullion outdueled Kevin Ramey. And what a battle they had going on for the final laps of that race. That was your apparent top 9 qualifiers after our A main event last night.
Yeah, and unfortunately, one of those little issues, the 47, Cody Ledger, had some issues in tech inspection. He was disqualified, dropped out of the third spot, and that gives the final qualifier to your defending race champion, Kevin Ramey, out of Fort Worth, Texas.
And I'm going to take 30 seconds of your time for race reporting and do a little PSA here. First of all, public apology to all the other competitors who may or may not have think we're trying to gain some type of a unfair advantage by having a half an ounce of advantage with 4 3/8 bolts that bolt the yoke onto the crankshaft in the engine. If people remember, about 4 years ago, we had a car destroyed due to another driver's incompetence on practice night. And we put this car that we're racing right now together 3 years ago. And it was a crazy thrash. 6 hours. We took a bare frame and body and stripped all the other parts off the old car and put a new car together. And my car is housed in a shop that contains mostly 360 powered race cars. Most of the bolts and all the stuff laying around in that shop, there's a lot of titanium there. 4 of the wrong bolts were grabbed in our haste and just maybe not paying attention. And we put that car together 3 years ago. They've been in there for the last 3 years. Last night was the 17th time we raced the car, and the engine has not been out of the car since we built it. So unfortunately, yes, there were titanium bolts in there. Looking for a performance advantage? Absolutely not. If we wanted to do that, we could have used a titanium drive shaft, which would have probably gained us many pounds of advantage from rotating weight. But a half an ounce worth of 3/8 bolts and a couple dollars worth of parts cost us pretty big time. Figuring then we'll be dropped to a last place finish in the same respect that Luke Cranston was penalized the night before. And then when we see the final points at the end of the night, we were DQ'd for the night. And basically it took all our points away for Saturday night after a strong run. And you can talk to any driver in that pit area. If they think those 4 3/8 titanium bolts were the reason why we had a good race car last night, I feel sorry for you, because there was absolutely not intentional. And I wish the punishment would have fit the crime. But unfortunately, I guess it doesn't. So we find out we're starting back in the D feature someplace today. We're going to go to work and do the same thing we did yesterday after fixing a car that we shouldn't have had to fix. And that's why I was pretty tired in the booth last night. But anyhow, we'll give it a shot. We'll give it a shot. It's going to be hard to come from the D all the way up there, but let's move on to the Jake Ida Memorial Race Champions. If
you don't mind, I want to give my little piece too. I do feel for you, Stan, because I know that you and your son have prided yourselves on the utmost attention to detail and following the rule book. I'm telling you, the last thing your son or Cody Ledger would ever want to be labeled as is cheaters. And I don't know near enough about racing like these other guys do, but it doesn't seem to me in common sense, and Dirk, chime in here, that anybody listening to what happened to that 47 car last night, that's not what got them up to third.
Oh, no, the performance advantage that you'd think you might gain from something like that, there's just no real advantage there.
Yeah.
That's all there is to it. But,
and unfortunately, that label gets put on for a mistake and an oversight. Like Stan said, I remember you talking about that. You guys were up all night thrashing on that car, getting it back together so you could get out there for the RaceSaver Nationals, and you just grabbed the wrong bolts. So I apologize. You got to go through this, bud. But hopefully we can talk about Cody running that baby through the A, qualifying, and then running it up into a great top 10, top 5 finish, if not picking up the win, and we can get a little redemption for you.
We'll give it a shot. The odds are pretty stacked, but we'll give it a shot. See what we can do. And that's what we do. We race.
Jake, I had a race of champions last night. A absolutely stacked field, and I really can't say anything other than an absolutely stacked field. It's the best of the best that were able to race this race, and then the best of them that were able to qualify for the main event last night.
Yeah, and once again, it didn't disappoint. There was no surprise. But Jake Bubak picked up the win. A very, very strong run by Jason Martin. You can give him the full field rundown.
I could, if I hadn't have already closed the tab.
Hey, we're probably already about to head into turn number 3. Just a couple more things I got to say. I got to really feel for Caleb Johnson. Caleb Johnson was locked into the front row of the championship feature event for today, and unfortunately totally destroyed the car during that Jake Ida Memorial Race Champion last night, and I feel I've got some compassion for him because he was so looking forward to having a good run in that race this year. Those guys they're a great racing family out of South Dakota, and known him and his dad for a number of years. And another guy, and I talked to him last night too after the races, Chad Wilson. Wilson was in the transfer spot on Friday night. Unfortunately, coming for the white flag, he trashes a car down in turns 3 and 4. Claude Estes in the practice for the Race of Champions. Just some crazy things happened last night. Some of them really nobody's fault, but they happened, and some racers really paid the price. And you got to feel for those guys. I'm certainly not hanging my head about our deal. But some of those guys really feel bad about the deal.
And I believe Jason Martin came in runner-up, and I liked what Jason said at the end of the night. James Rowland was giving him doing the old victory lane conversations, and Jake's been strong. Jake Bubak has been incredibly strong all year long. He's been strong all weekend, winning his heat races, winning the features, qualifying for the pole for tonight's racing action. And Jason Martin said, I think our advantage over that 74B is lap traffic. We're able to navigate it a little bit better than that 74B is. So I think as long as we keep him close those opening 10, 12 laps, when we start getting into lap traffic, we might have something for him.
And I guess if you analyze that race, there was one particular point in time when Jake almost lost the lead because he made a wrong choice on lap traffic going down the backstretch, and he backed up to Jason, and they raced pretty hard off of turn 4, but Bubak regained the lead before they got back to turn 1, but it was a little scare. It's anybody's race. When you throw Lady Luck into that deal, rest assured the fastest 27 is going to take the green flag today, 3 wide, and gosh, it's going to be an incredible feature.
And jumping back into final feature for last night, the Sportmont A feature was won by Sean Harker. I feel for Sean.
Redemption. I guess, how he lost the title this year to Gunnar Pike. Obviously, Gunnar Pike had a great season. Sean having that, did we mention luck? Sean Harker leading, heading for the white flag, has an engine expire in that car. A car spins out. Should have been 1 lap to go. He might have been able to nurse the thing home, or at least gotten close enough for a top 5 to get 1 more lap in on that engine as it was starting to seize up, and the caution flag comes out. They have to circle the track 2 or 3 times under caution to get an accident in turns 3 and 4 handled. It was the 2nd and 3rd place cars. They get together. That moves Pike up to 3rd. In the last lap, Pike charges from 3rd to the win in the green-white checkered. Harker's car slowing. He ends up finishing 8th. They finish in a tie for the points championship, and Pike takes the tiebreaker with most wins on the season. Last night, I think he's probably got to be feeling pretty good about that redemption for Sean Harker, but no sliding Gunnar Pike in any way. He had a terrific season.
Yeah, Gunnar hung in there just like he needed to do all year long. Honestly, just what is dirt racing. Luck comes into play, whether it's good luck or bad luck. And dirt racing, NASCAR, or whatever, you stay in position to benefit from somebody's bad luck, and big things can happen for you.
Yep, and like I say, it's going to be a great afternoon of racing. I'm knocking on wood as I say this. For the first time in years, it appears that Mother Nature is going to cooperate. We're going to have a great day for racing, and gosh, if you miss it, you're going to be hearing about it tomorrow morning.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, we're going to take a quick break. Do you still have some time to stay with us?
We've almost overshot turn 3.
Almost, but we're doing pretty good at staying on time.
We jumped the cushion.
You got an opportunity. Can you stay with us for another maybe 5 minutes and help us preview the final night?
I'm hanging.
I want to get the qualifying procedure, the points procedure, the shenanigans, the Dr. Danger, all that kind of fun stuff.
All right.
I appreciate it, sir. I'll get your cell phone bill taken care of this month.
Unlimited.
Okay. Well, never mind then. I'll get you lunch. We're going to take a break. We'll be back on the front stretch.
If you love wings, if you love rings, and all kinds of other tempting things, great time, great food, get to Quaker Steak and Lube.
Quaker Steak and Lube is the official watering hole of the front stretch and the best place to catch all the NASCAR action. Open at 11 a.m. with delivery available.
Great times, great food, get to Quaker Steak and Lube.
Located on Mid-America Drive in Council Bluffs.
Joe's Karting in Council Bluffs and Malvern Bank present the first annual Slick Track Series starting October 1st. Running each Tuesday in October, November, January, and February, you'll have a chance at nightly winter hardware, free races from Joe's Karting, and of course, a white knuckle and good time. First place wins $500 plus a 1-year VIP membership. A full schedule, payouts, and requirements can be found at joeskarting.com. The Malvern Bank Slick Track Series only at Joe's Karting in Council Bluffs.
Feather the brake and get back to the gas. Dan and Dirk are headed into turn 3 on the front stretch.
Welcome back to it into turn number 3. Just about ready to continue to talk dirt racing. It's going to be a 90% dirt racing show today. Stan Cisar joining us on the show, the voice of the Speedway at Eagle Raceway. He has called a lot of laps and a lot of passes since, Thursday night was whenever they kicked off with practice night and the Jake Ida Memorial qualifying. And we've even got to see some cars explode in a good way with Dr. Danger.
Last night was the car blowing up with the gal inside. That was pretty spectacular.
And this is a local stunt girl that they have just nicknamed Omaha. So when we say that Omaha blew up, Omaha didn't actually blow up. I don't want to get any trouble with any NSAs or Big Brother listening, but her stunt name is Omaha, and she's been lit on fire twice and exploded once.
Yeah, and it was indeed spectacular. And then the kid who is basically he's basically one of Dr. Danger's proteges that have done the 2 car jumps thus far. Did it again. This time he took all 4 cars off the pile and got them all knocked over onto the ground. He almost overshot it again because he picked up too much speed off the ramp and basically almost flew over the pile last night, and it was spectacular.
It was a stack of 4 cars, and his goal was to hit about the middle of the stack to push the whole stack over. Well, the first night on Friday night, like Stan mentioned, he was a little hot coming off turn 4, runs across across the front stretch, kind of comes into Mini E, to what would be the back stretch of Mini E, and then ramps off of turn 3, that'd be turn 3.
That's turn 3. That's where we're at. Turn 3.
The turn 3 entrance to Mini E, and almost overshoots the stack of 4 cars. So he just barely hits the top car. Very little dissipates his energy and slams into the ground. Took him a little while to get him out of the car. And they said, okay, we've rearranged the ramp just a little bit. We've slowed him down, and we're going to try it again. And like Stan, like you mentioned, much better run at it on last night.
But he still came in a little hot. But yeah, and again, pretty spectacular, the pyrotechnics. And it's one thing, pyrotechnics coming off when you head up the ramp and everything. But when you blow blow the car up, and the whole thing, all you see is a car and a fireball, and pretty soon emerging out of the passenger car door, you got the gal running out, and she is burning and on fire from head to foot, runs about 20 feet down the track before she falls down, and all the Four Corners Fire and Safety put her out with fire extinguishers. Just, you got to shake your head.
Yeah, and to give you an idea of what this explosion looked like, this looks like every action movie when a car explodes. Giant fireball and a mushroom cloud and pieces falling on the ground. And
dynamite.
Out comes this girl, and she's kind of flailing around for a little bit of a show, and then hits the ground, and the fire crew gets right there. So it was, a gunshot from a pistol into the engine block, and all of a sudden,
So not only do we have some very competitive, great sprint car racing, we got a dog and pony show, and everybody that was there, I think, was entertained from the first green flag till the last stunt.
It was an amazing, and now we've got tonight, the final night of racing action at Eagle Raceway for the RaceSaver Nationals. Like I mentioned during the last turn, in about a little under an hour, about 45 minutes from now, the breakfast will open up for drivers. Pre-tech starts at 10 a.m. There's a dodgeball tournament scheduled for 11 a.m. Grandstand gates for fans open up at 4:30. At that same time, you're going to get the opportunity to meet and greet with Dr. Danger, some of the drivers that have been appearing in the weekends of the week of racing, and then there's also a car show in the fan zone. Then the hot laps will start at 5:30 with racing starting at 6:30. Take us through the final qualifying and how it's been stacked up for tonight.
I believe we're probably going to, with a few cars dropping out, a few cars getting crashed, whoever's going to, engines, whoever's going to be able to make it back. The payoff is pretty good for starting an event all 3 days. So guys are going to try to make it if they can, obviously, because your tow money and your final starting position money, even if you're down in the F feature for Sunday, is going to be pretty substantial and help pay for the guys getting back to wherever they came from. We'll move up through the alphabet soup. Once again, tonight we'll have the hobby stocks as a support class. It kind of works out great. You can give those guys a chance, alternate some of those heat races and features with the support class to give those guys that are moving up a little chance to make adjustments, refuel the cars, get ready for that next race. We were a little short on sport compacts on Friday night, and gosh, those guys were having to jump into the work area, refuel, and head right back down onto the track. It was probably pretty hectic.
Absolutely, and
that is indeed the reason for these support classes. When you get the sprint car purists say, we got enough races, why do we really need it? We need a little time, Plus, they farm the track. We try to give the guys the best surface that's possible. So and we go from there.
And I do like there being a support class. They serve their purpose, and frankly, when I come to a racetrack, I don't want to sit with nothing going on. You and I have talked about this. You and I have talked about this.
Is funny.
Right.
Yeah.
There's another race. I don't want to throw them under the bus, but Knoxville has sprint cars only, and it just frustrates me to all end that hardworking people pay $40, $50 to get into the final night of the Knoxville Nationals to watch 4 races.
5
races over like 4.5 to 5 hours it takes to wrap that up, and there is so much downtime that you could throw another class on there and give the fans a race. Maybe it's not a good race, but at least you're watching another race.
I think they do. They run the new pro sprint category. I believe with the crate engines, their new budget class over there. I think they did run that somewhere in line. You were over there for the final night. I was obviously working, but I think during the course of that week somewhere, I do believe they put those guys in there, don't they?
No, they did not run an extra class on that Saturday night.
Well, not on Saturday.
Didn't. Okay, maybe
the rest of the week.
Maybe it was Friday. I thought they did put them in there, but yeah, and those guys, they'll split the field. So basically, you come in, you see time trials, you see 5 heat races, you see a semi, and you see a feature.
Mm-hmm.
And the racing is great. I go every year. I try to make it over there. And yeah, okay.
But so and that's kind of our point to having the support class. I like him being there because it gives the main class an opportunity to catch the breath, make adjustments, make some minor repairs if they need to, while giving the fans something to watch while those adjustments are being made. And I think that, like your sport compacts, it allows them to they tear up the track just a little bit with that narrow tire.
And you know something, these guys come out there last night. There was 4 heats again of sport modifieds. Hey, we had a great crowd last night.
Mm-hmm.
Place was pretty full, and those guys love to race in front of big crowds. They take a lot of pride and effort in their cars, whether they're being in the sport compact division, in the hobby stocks, in the sport modifieds. They love racing in front of that big crowds, and 9 times out of 10, they put on a great competitive show for those big crowds. So, they're a support class, but gosh, they're very entertaining, and it's definitely not a detraction in my book.
Tonight's racing action, once again, grandstand gates open up at 4:30, hot laps at 5:30, racing at 6:30. Get out to Eagle Raceway tonight, non-stop sprint car action. I guess I shouldn't say that because you have added the hobby stocks as a support class for tonight.
10 o'clock.
I've still got my wristband on. I think I might try to run down and have one more Eagle Melon before my weekend ends.
After last night, I think I'll meet you there.
All right, sounds good. Stan, I always do appreciate it, buddy. I love what you do for the racing community. Love what you do for me in the announcers booth, and I look forward to seeing you tonight.
All right, man. You too. You guys take it easy.
Have a good night. Stan. Thank you. Stan Cisar, the voice of the Speedway, owner of the Stan Cisar Racing number 47, driven by Cody Ledger. It's going to be fun to watch him coming through the field. Cody's got one thing somebody kept saying last night is Cody is confident, which is something that Cody has battled with in his career. I think he is confident with that 47 car. So if he is coming out of the D, I think he'll make it into the B. The number of cars that they're taking out of the B, I got a good feeling he's going to be in the A. That's going to put a smile on that Stan Cisar face. And I want to see what Cody Ledger does in that A. A lot of laps, a lot of opportunity, and Cody's got a rocket underneath of him. So good luck to those guys and good luck to all the competitors out at Eagle Raceway. We're going to keep rolling through because we have the points night at I-80 Speedway, which I will be down at. So I miss out on championship, the RaceSaver Nationals final night, so that I could be down at I-80 Speedway calling the races with Chris Krug and Anthony Ainsley. And this is a couple of points nights for the NASCAR Weekly points that are up, very tight contention. Bill Layton Jr. in your Cubby's Convenience Store Super Late Models, just a 1-point advantage over Josh Leonard, an 8-point advantage over Andrew Kaziski. Ben Schaller has a 36-point disadvantage sitting back and forth, and Josh Krug back in 37th. Realistically, it's a 3-man battle.
Josh Krug is in 37th or 37 points back in 4th?
37 points back in 5th.
Okay.
So Josh Leonard has been really strong lately, and Bill Layton's been doing a good job of kind of keeping him behind him. But 1 point, it's just 2 positions on the racetrack. And I don't have the exact numbers of who would have the tiebreaker, but we talked about it earlier with Stan Cisar. With Gunnar Pike having a 7-point disadvantage going into the final points night at Eagle Raceway, was able to overcome it and win his championship. That's not too much of a hurdle for Josh Leonard, and he's Andrew Kaziski back in 3rd, only 8-point deficit. Something happens, Josh and Bill Layton tangle, and they end up finishing tail end of the feature. All of a sudden, Andrew Kaziski's your points champion, provided he's not involved in it too.
Yeah, his luck hasn't been exactly stellar for this year.
Ryan Jenkins, 19-point advantage in the Jack Daniels Modifieds over his good buddy Jacob Hobscheit, who Jacob Hobscheit has been coming on really strong lately. Won 3 or 4 features in a row at I-80 Speedway. But Ryan Jenkins has had a consistent season, a great season all year long. 19-point advantage. It would take a mechanical failure, a big issue with him. I don't see Ryan Jenkins having that big of an issue that Jacob Hobscheit will be able to overcome that 19-point deficit.
Yeah, that's a big margin for one night.
Going into a night, well, 5 or more points, I'm nervous. 5 points is is pretty tough to overcome too, because if you've come down to the season that far and you're battling with the points leader, you got to find 5 points to win the championship. That's going to be pretty tough to do.
Well, there's got to be a failure on the leader's part somehow.
Your Kaziski Auto Parts Bragging Right late models. This has been a close points battle all season long, but Jacob Brown starting to pull away from Jake Bridge. Jake Bridge, 14-point disadvantage, sitting back in second. Sterling Perkins in third, 62 points back. So that's your top 3 for the Kaziski Auto Parts Bragging Right late models. Jacob Brown, defending track champion for the Bragging Rights. Jake Bridge trying to steal that away. We'll see what happens tonight. Once again, Jacob Brown is one of those guys that's just so consistent, keeps his nose clean, knows when to really push for the win, and so it would be tough for Jake Bridge to wrestle that championship away. Hobby stocks have already been settled. They finished their points night about a month and a half ago. Luke Ramsey picked up the track championship once again. Big advantage, 63-point win over Brett Ricker out of Mount Air, Iowa. Tom Myers finished in third in points. Nick Brueggemann in fourth, and Zach Van Serksum in fifth. Another points championship that's pretty close to being wrapped up. Stephen Oakes with a 44-point advantage. It's going to be really tough for Stephen unless he just doesn't show up tonight. Stephen's going to win that championship in the River City Heating and Cooling Sport Compacts. Tough thing for Dustin Grout. He led the points pretty handedly for quite a while, but had an issue in tech inspection a few weeks back and vehemently disagreed with the tech officials on the way that it was teched, the way that the rule book was interpreted, but he doesn't get to decide that. The tech officials do. He ended up with no points on the night and fell back to second in the points championship. So Stephen Oakes looking pretty sound to take that championship away. Sean Harker's another one, 78-point advantage over Devin Peterson, which, by the way, Devin in the 5D has been a lot like Jacob Hobscheit. Very, very strong late in this season. Winning 3 features in a row at I-80 Speedway, but unfortunately it's too little too late, and Sean Harker, all he has to do is show up and he wins that championship. The next class, again, pretty much decided. Shane Stutzman with a sizable lead over Scott Carlson. Shane Stutzman with a sizable lead over Scott Carlson, 34-point advantage in that one. So really the championship to watch tonight is going to be your super late models at I-80 Speedway. 1-point advantage for Bill Layton Jr.
Yep, and again, that, in racing, cut a tire down, you blow an engine, Get too hot in the corner, you rub somebody, and all of a sudden you cut that tire. Maybe you bump the wall. Maybe you try to Bobby Pierce it, and you keep trying to knock that wall down, but his tire holds up and yours doesn't. Yeah, there's just so many things that can happen in one night of racing. So, that's not something where he can just go out and just, turn laps either. He's got to race with only a 1-point lead. Yep. So nothing given tonight. We'll crown 6 more champions at I-80 Speedway. Eagle Raceway will crown a RaceSaver champion, and it's going to be a beautiful day of racing. Also, we're going to take a break. We're going to come back. We got to talk NASCAR. Darlington back on the schedule. Darlington tonight as NASCAR gets back on to racing schedule with a Sunday night race. Cup Series, not talk NASCAR, because we were just talking NASCAR when we were talking it. That's a good point. We could also talk a little bit of NASCAR with the Xfinity Series and more disqualifications from your race winners. We're going to take a break. We'll be back in turn number 4 on the front stretch.
If you love wings, if you love rings, and all kinds of other tempting things, great times, great food, get to Quaker Steak and Lube. Quaker Steak and Lube is the official watering hole of the front stretch and the best place to catch all the NASCAR action. Open at 11 a.m. with delivery available. Great times, great food, get to Quaker Steak and Lube. Located on Mid-America Drive in Council Bluffs.
Every race car driver has run into the same problem. It's well past normal parts store closing hours, but you need that one to finish your car. The guys who brought you White Knuckle Racing by the River bring you Joe's Karting Racing Parts and Tire Store. Open until 10 p.m. Monday to Thursday and open until 11 p.m. on Friday and Saturday. A parts store that fits your after-hours schedule, and you can turn a few laps at Joe's Karting while you're waiting for your part to get pulled from their warehouse. Joe'sKarting.com for more information.
Dan and Dirk are live for one last corner. Give them a call now at 402-573-0590.
We would love to hear from you. Thoughts on the disqualifications at Eagle Raceway. Thoughts on anything we've really been talking about, the point standings. Maybe give us your opinion on who you think's going to win today's race at the RaceSaver Nationals. Who's going to win the late model championship at I-80 Speedway? A lot you could talk about. We'd love to hear from you. 402-573-0590. I talked to Dirk in the break. I calmed him down. He's just been talking way too much. I am sorry. It's just when we spend half the show talking about the RaceSaver Nationals, and there's not a lot for you to chime in on.
Nope, there is not. But you made me get out of bed this morning anyway.
Well, that's why you earned the big paycheck from us.
Oh. Did we get a raise?
402-573-0590. The Southern 500, as it has been renamed, is kicking off tonight at what I think green flag is set to wave at... I've got 6 o'clock Eastern, so 5 o'clock Central.
You realize the Southern 500's been around for like 60 years?
Yeah, but they quit calling it that for a long time.
Well, it's because they moved it off of Labor Day weekend.
Yeah, so they quit calling it that for a long time. So
well, it wasn't a long time, a couple of years.
That's a long time. In my lifetime, that's a long time. Your lifetime, that's a blink. Just saying. Perspective. All right. I believe the race is, I'm looking online right now, and 5 o'clock is when the start time is. So all picks for the Pick'ems contest due by 4 o'clock today. If you happen to miss your pick, but the green flag hasn't waved, you can always get it in to emailing us, frontstretchradio@gmail.com, which, by the way, I was supposed to announce the latest 5-week contest for the Kansas Speedway contest today. So we're going to have to do it next weekend. I will send out that email to anybody that's been a part of the contest later today, maybe tomorrow, since it's Labor Day and we're all off. But apologize for not getting that today. We had a lot of racing to cover.
And a little pick knowledge. Kyle Busch wasn't happy with his 33rd place qualifying effort for the race today. So he went ahead and changed engines. Now he's got to go back to like 37th or 38th, wherever the back of the field's going.
Oh, that's tough. That's tough. He did say in a press conference he felt like something was wrong with the engine. Didn't know what, but what was his quote? He said, something's got to be wrong with the engine. I'm not that slow. As much as I would love to call that arrogant,
but he's
kind of right. He's not that slow. So, all right, the Southern 500. Last time we were there at Darlington, this time last year, Brad Keselowski picked up the win. Penske picked up the top 2 spots with Joey Logano coming home second. Kyle Larson in third. Kevin Harvick in fourth. Chase Elliott with the top 5. Kurt Busch sixth. Kyle Busch seventh. Eric Jones eighth. Jim McMurray ninth. And Denny Hamlin with the top 10 finish. Rough days. Jimmy Johnson finished 39th. Clinton Boyer finished 36th. Daniel Suarez 29th. Bubba Wallace, 26th. Alex Bowman, 23rd, which Bowman is on the pole today. And that looks like most of your major contenders where they finished for today's race. Talk a little bit about Darlington for those that maybe just get into the fantasy contest, maybe don't know about it. It is a short track, but it's a very fast short track.
1.366 miles is not a short track.
Not a short track, you're right, yeah. But I'm thinking of Richmond, my apologies.
But it has 2 distinct corners, not necessarily an egg shape, but, that's as close as you're going to get in stock car racing is an egg-shaped track. When it was originally built way back when, there's a minnow pond that they did not want to disturb. So they made one of the corners a little bit different. And back in the 90s, they moved the front stretch to the back stretch, and it's really kind of weird when you go to the track for the first time because you look at it and there's like 2 pit roads and one of them they don't use. It's kind of funky looking, but it's very well known for getting into the wall, the Darlington stripe, et cetera, et cetera. The last few years you've seen some guys running a lot lower on the track than they ever did. And I don't know if that's just traction compound. You'll see times fall off about 2 seconds a lap during the run because the tires will give up.
This is one of them that is some racetracks, they will roll the tires wherever they go. This one, they will carry them or cart them because they don't want any rubber coming off that tire.
Right.
Because it wears so much, and it's so important. That's going to do it for us today. If you're a part of the Pick'ems contest, make sure you get your picks in on time, and be looking out for the Kansas Speedway Crewman for a Day contest coming up in October. For Dirk Houston, I'm Dan Taylor. Thanks to Stan Cisar for joining us. Thanks to all of you for tuning in and enjoying the front stretch. We'll do it all again next weekend on AM 590, Omaha's ESPN Radio.
Joe's Karting in Council Bluffs and Malvern Bank present the first annual Slick Track Series starting October 1st. Running each Tuesday in October, November, January, and February, you'll have a chance at nightly winter hardware, free races from Joe's Karting, and of course, a white knuckle and good time. First place wins $500 plus a 1-year VIP membership. A full schedule, payouts, and requirements can be found at joeskarting.com. The Malvern Bank Slick Track Series only at Joe's Karting in Council Bluffs.
This has been the Front Stretch Radio Show, presented by Joe's Karting in Council Bluffs. To contact Dan or Dirk, find them on Facebook at The Front Stretch or email them at frontstretch590@gmail.com. If you missed any part of today's show or want to hear a previous show, subscribe to the Joe's Karting YouTube page, where you can find almost every Front Stretch show.